Hi there, sixth graders. So today we are going to look at lesson 2. So we are kind of continuing on with looking at our positive and negative numbers on a number line. Today we're going to look at some real world positive and negative numbers. So the first page of our guided practice has this word problem. If you want to read it to yourself and write down any words that you already know, words that you're not quite sure about, and if you want to look up the answers or write down kind of the words that you've learned during our lesson today, you can, but I'm not going to be using this side of the page. The next page has that same story problem, and we're going to use this one to kind of talk about it. So the story problem says, for Tim's 13th birthday, he received $150 in cash from his mom. So he was given $150. His dad took him to the bank to open a savings account. Tim gave the cash to the banker to deposit into his account, which means like to put into his account. The banker credited or added to Tim's new account $150 and gave Tim a receipt. 1 week later, Tim deposited or put in another $25 that he earned as allowance. The next month, Tim's dad gave him permission to withdraw or take out $35 to buy a new video game. Tim's dad explained that the bank would charge a $5 fee or take out another $5 for each withdrawal from the savings account, and that each withdrawal and charge results in a debit, or another word for withdrawal or charge or just to take out, to the account. So we're going to look at this table. So this table breaks down some of the different events that occurred in this story problem. We're not going to use the number line model just because our number lines are going to get kind of squishy in there. But we are going to talk about the integers. So an integer is just a positive number, a negative number, or 0. Any positive, negative number, or 0. So when he opened the bank account with $0, we would show that with the integer of 0. Then when Tim made a $150 deposit, it would be positive 150. You can write the plus sign in the front, but you don't have to. Then credit an account for $150. Be the same thing, again, 150. Again, if you want to put the plus sign to show that it's positive, you can, but we can kind of assume that any number that doesn't have a sign in front of it is positive. Then make a deposit of $25. Again, that's going to be a positive number. It'll be 25. Then the bank makes a charge of $5. So remember, a charge means that they take away $5. So we have negative 5. And finally, Tim withdraws $35. So remember, to withdraw means to take away $35. So these are all the integers that we can use to represent these different events. So next we're going to look at another real-world application of positive and negative numbers. And we're going to look at temperature. Temperature is commonly measured using one of two scales, either Celsius or Fahrenheit. In the United States, the Fahrenheit system is the accepted standard for non-scientific use. So that means, like, if you were to ask what the weather was like outside, somebody might tell you, oh, it's 75 degrees. They're usually talking about Fahrenheit. But if you're talking about something like a science experiment, they might use Celsius, just because it's a little bit more similar to the metric system in that it's all in degrees of 10. All other countries have adopted Celsius as the primary scale in use. The thermometer shows how both scales are related. So if we look at this first one, the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. So 100 degrees Celsius would be like off the chart for our, for our thermometer. So we can't really even see it. So we're not going to worry about this question. or this one. So we are going to take a look here and answer these questions. The temperature is shown on the thermometer in degrees Fahrenheit. So this side is Fahrenheit. You can see the little F there. And our line up at the top comes to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We write that by writing 100, the degree symbol, which is like a mini zero, and then Fahrenheit. If you're writing degrees, make sure that you put the degrees way up at the top so it doesn't look like an extra zero. And then the temperature that's shown on the thermometer, but in degrees Celsius, so Celsius is on the other side, is right below 40. So that is about 38 degrees Celsius. Then we can see the freezing point of water in degrees Celsius. This little note tells us that 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point of water. Our next question says, if someone tells you your body temperature is 98.6 degrees, what scale is being used? So if we think about it, the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. 98.6 would be right almost to 100 degrees Celsius. If you feel your own self, like if you touch your arm, you don't feel like you're as hot as a pot of boiling water. But if you look at our thermometer, and we can see that 98 would be like right around in here, it's probably more reasonable that we're talking about Fahrenheit. Oops, that should be an N, not an H. And we could say that we know this because 100 degrees Celsius is far too hot for a person to be. And finally, the last question is, does the temperature 0 degrees mean the same thing on both scales? So I'm going to find 0 degrees in Celsius, which is right here, and then 0 degrees in Fahrenheit is down here. So no, they don't mean the same thing. 0 degrees Fahrenheit is much, much colder than 0 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees Fahrenheit is colder than the freezing point of water. If it's 0 degrees outside, it is very, very, very cold. So that's where we're going to stop for our guided practice. You have some independent practice that you can do on your own at home. And then you have an exit ticket as well. Remember that all of these pages will be turned into the 3.2 assignment page. Before I send you off on your way to do your work, I have a word for you. That word is citrus. Citrus. C-I-T-R-U-S. This is like lemons and oranges and limes. These are citrus fruit. So remember that if you have any questions or run into any problems, please let me know or let Miss Sally know, and we are happy to help. Have a fantastic day, 6th graders.